Welcome to another deep dive where we take all the cool stuff you send us and, well, we try to make sense of it all.
That's right.
This time, you've really outdone yourselves.
Yeah.
We've got early basketball rule books. We've got decades of NBA rule changes.
Wow.
And a whole bunch of fan discussions, passionate fans, about, what worked, what hasn't worked, and what they think might happen next. So,
Yeah.
our mission, if you choose to accept it,
I like it.
is to figure out why and how basketball became the game we know and love today. How'd they get there?
It's a really fascinating story. Over a century of evolution, little tweaks, big overhauls, some things that lasted, some things that got tossed out. It's quite a journey.
I'll be honest, I was pretty shocked by how many times they actually changed the rules.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, way more than I ever would have thought. And some of those early rules, or should I say lack of rules,
Yeah, right.
it was practically a different sport.
Yeah.
Like fans literally reaching out and blocking shots.
Can you imagine?
I mean, what was that like?
Right. You hit a key point there. One of the big things driving these changes right from the start seems to have been keeping the fans happy,
Makes sense.
making it fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been a huge influence on the rule book.
Okay, well, let's take it way back. Before the NBA, like back to the beginning.
Okay.
It looks like even in the very early days, they were already making changes. The pivot foot rule, 1893.
Right.
It seems like a pretty crucial first step.
It was.
What problem were they even trying to solve back then?
Well, the whole no running with the ball rule, right? It was so strict at first, people thought you couldn't move your feet at all while holding it.
Really?
But of course, players started pivoting on one foot to get around that.
Yeah, of course.
That raised the big question, is pivoting running or is it, legal?
I mean, we take pivoting for granted now, but back then, they were really inventing the game as they went along. So how did they end up allowing the pivot?
Well, they realized players needed some way to move.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing the pivot foot let them pass and shoot without technically running.
Yeah.
Might seem like a small tweak, but it was huge for the offense.
Yeah.
No passing game without it.
Right.
No way.
And then there's this wild thing about fans interfering with shots. Like reaching out, blocking the ball.
Crazy.
It sounds more like a brawl than an actual game.
By today's standards, it's nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you were close enough, you could totally mess with the shots. One article even said fans used to shake the whole hoop.
No way.
Oh yeah, you can see why that created problems, fairness-wise. Right?
Yeah, that's a big problem.
For the integrity of the game.
So what did they do?
Enter the backboard.
Genius.
It was such a simple but brilliant solution.
Yeah.
A physical barrier, kept fans out of the action.
Protected the game.
Protected the game.
Yeah.
Made it fair.
Speaking of fair, how about that free throw line distance? 1895.
Oh yeah.
20 feet.
Can you imagine?
I mean, can you imagine trying to sink a free throw from that far out?
Right. What were they thinking? It doesn't seem like they put a lot of thought into the difficulty. Turns out, shooting from 20 feet was really tough.
Yeah.
So defenses just started fouling like crazy. Why let them take a shot when they're probably going to miss the free throw, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. It was all fouls and missed free throws. Not exactly edge of your seat stuff.
No, not really.
Not really. So they moved the line closer, 15 feet.
Made the free throws easier.
Made the free throws easier. Now, fouling all the time wasn't such a good strategy.
Pretty smart.
It was about balance, Physical game, yeah, but keep it flowing, keep it entertaining.
Then we've got the dribbling saga. Yale, figuring out that loophole in the rules. That's some clever coaching right there.
Oh, yeah. See, the rule said no running while holding the ball. That coach at Yale realized dribbling, well, you're not really holding it the same way.
Oh, smart.
Big debate. Is that the spirit of the rule, or are they just being sneaky? Should it be allowed? What would it do to the game?
Yeah, it's hard to picture basketball without dribbling.
I know, right? Thankfully, they were forward-thinking, saw the possibilities. Dribbling meant more movement on offense, more individual skill.
It was a game changer.
It was a game changer.
Oh, yeah. But those early basketballs.
Oh, don't remind me.
Football laces and all that.
Oh, tripling those things was a nightmare. One bounce this way, one bounce that way.
Yeah.
You really had to pick your spots.
It's not like the fancy dribbling we see today.
No,
Well-
no. It was more about creating space, passing, shooting, then picking the ball up again.
Yeah.
But still, this one rule change, it really opened up the offensive game.
Okay, a couple quick ones. Glass backboards in 1910. Sounds like that was mainly for the fans.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. And then changing the out-of-bounds rule in 1914. Also seems pretty obvious in hindsight.
Those were no-brainers, really.
Yeah.
Glass backboards just made the game easier to watch.
Definitely.
And that old out-of-bounds rule, everyone piling on top of each other.
Yeah, sounds dangerous.
Talk about a recipe for injuries.
Yeah.
Giving possession to the other team, much simpler, much safer.
Okay, 1930s. Now they're trying to stop teams from stalling. 5-second rule in the backcourt, 10-second rule to get it past half court.
Yep.
So even way back then, teams were already figuring out how to slow the game down.
Seems like it. They were just holding on to the ball, no real intention of shooting.
Killing the clock.
Killing the clock.
Yeah.
So they put in those rules, got to move the ball, got to try to score.
Of course, even with those rules, we still got that crazy low-scoring Pistons game later on.
Yeah, it didn't eliminate stalling completely, but it definitely made it a lot harder.
Made him think twice.
Made him think twice.
Last big change before the NBA, no more jump ball after every basket. That must have made the game so choppy.
Oh, it did. Tip off after every score.
Yeah.
Slowed everything down.
Yeah.
And it basically meant whoever was tallest, each they weren't that athletic, they dominated.
Yeah.
All they had to do was win the tip.
So getting rid of that jump ball really changed things.
Big time.
More fluid, more athletic.
The game really opened up. I mean, think about it. The amazing, skilled big men we see today,
Yeah.
back then, they might not have gotten to play much.
Yeah.
Just not the same game.
All right, let's jump ahead. NBA time, 1946. The league is born. What were some of those first rules?
All right, so 60-game season,
Okay.
48-minute games. Those are still the same today.
Mm.
But there were some big differences. Possession changed after every basket. Zone defenses were allowed.
Oh, interesting.
Teams had 12 players, and you fouled out after 5 fouls.
Okay.
Not 6, like now.
And then, boom, 1947, they banned zone defense.
Yeah, that was quick.
Seems like a pretty big turnaround. What happened?
Oh, one source said it was all about the superstars.
Makes sense.
You know, those guys were incredible. The league wanted to showcase their skills, all those one-on-one matchups.
Make it exciting.
Make it exciting, higher scoring. It was a statement about what kind of basketball they wanted.
But then, fast forward to 2002, zone defense is back. What changed? Especially with that crackdown on hand checking around the same time, which also helped the offense.
Great point. And it shows how these rule changes kind of play off each other. They brought zone defense back mostly because of Shaq. The big man, unstoppable. Nobody could guard him one-on-one. So they figured zone defense, that'll force teams to get more creative on offense.
Right.
More ball movement, maybe even a way to slow Shaq down a bit.
It's funny how those rules were basically responses to dominant players.
It's true, like widening the lane. That happened twice, right? First because of George Mikan, so good they called it the Mikan rule. And then again because of Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt the Stilt?
Unstoppable in the paint. So 1951, they widened the lane from 6 feet to 12 feet.
Wow.
Then in 64, they made it 16 feet.
To stop those guys from just camping out under the basket.
Exactly. Keep them moving, make them work for their points.
And of course, the 24-second shot clock. 1954. Maybe the biggest game changer in NBA history.
Maybe. It all came from that super low-scoring game, Pistons and Lakers, right?
19-18, I think.
19-18. That was it. And Danny Biasone, the owner of the Syracuse Nationals, he said, enough is enough.
He said, we got to speed this up.
Got to make them shoot. So they put in the shot clock, 24 seconds to take a shot.
Boom. Faster game. More scoring.
More action. It's hard to imagine the NBA without it.
It's true. They also tinkered with how many fouls you could get. Went from 5 to 6 in the 47-48 season.
Yeah.
And then all those changes to late game fouling and jump balls in the 50s. Sounds like they were constantly tweaking things.
They were. Those early years, it was all about experimenting, finding the right balance.
To make the league work.
To make the league work, to make it fun for the fans. Like changing the jump ball rules, that was about stopping teams from just fouling at the end to get the ball back.
Oh, interesting.
Making the endings more exciting, less predictable.
Then the defensive 3-second rule came along in 59-60. How has that been enforced over the years?
Right, so basically, a defender can't just hang out in the paint for more than 3 seconds unless they're actively guarding someone.
Okay.
The idea was to open things up a bit. More driving to the basket, better spacing.
Right.
Over the years, they've had to clarify what actively guarding really means. Yeah. But the goal's the same. Keep the lane from getting too clogged up.
And then the hand-checking saga. That took decades to play out, right? Banning it in 79, stricter enforcement later on, finally gone completely in 2005. Why'd they do that? And how did guys like George Gervin influence that?
Hand checking. That was all about giving more power to the offense. Let those guys move freely.
Right.
It made it harder for defenders to slow them down. They banned it in 79, but people weren't always following the rule.
Yeah.
So they got stricter in 95, and then in 2005, boom, gone. They wanted more scoring. They wanted to see those stars really shine. And guys like Gervin, man, imagine how many points he would scored without all that hand checking.
Yeah.
It really opened up the perimeter game.
And then the three-pointer. 1980.
That changed everything. Offense, defense, player development, you name it.
It changed how the game looks.
It changed how the game is.
And they even messed with the distance a bit.
They did. Started at 23 feet, 9 inches. Well, so for the corners, 22 feet there. Then he tried shortening it in 95.
Okay.
Figured more scoring, right? But then they changed it back in 97, 98. Back to the original distance.
Back to the classic.
Back to the classic three-pointer.
Right.
But it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And it's led to all these specialist shooters, changed how teams space the floor. It's a whole new ball game.
It's crazy how one line on the court can do all that.
It's not just about scoring more. It's about the strategy, how you attack, how you defend.
Okay, player safety. That's become more and more important, right? Like the flagrant foul rule, starting in 91.
Yeah.
Trying to crack down on those really dangerous plays.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They started really focusing on protecting players.
Mm.
You know, making a distinction between hard fouls and just plain dirty plays.
Mm.
Different levels of flagrant fouls, harsher penalties. They wanted to get that stuff out of the game.
And there are those really specific rules for specific situations, like the Trent Tucker rule at the buzzer and the breakaway foul rule. It's like they're fine-tuning things as they go.
Yeah, they're trying to cover all the bases.
Right.
Trent Tucker rule, that's about making sure there's no confusion about those last-second shots.
Right, get rid of the controversy.
Get rid of the controversy, make it clear. And the breakaway foul, well, that's about stopping guys from just hacking someone who's got a clear path to the basket.
Yeah.
Free throws in possession, that's the penalty. Makes those breakaway dunks even more exciting.
Can't forget about timeouts, especially late in the game.
Oh, yeah, those can get strategic.
And of course, they added that third ref. All about keeping the game fair, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Timeouts, that's a constant back and forth, trying to stop teams from exploiting the rules, especially in those last few minutes.
Right, keep it fair.
Keep it fair, keep it exciting. And that third ref, well, 3 eyes are better than 2, right? Make sure they don't miss anything.
Makes it harder to argue with the refs, too.
That too.
And then instant replay. Starting in 2007, 2008, they're reviewing everything now.
They really are.
Yeah.
Flagrant fouls, shot clock violations, even whether a guy's foot was on the line for a three-pointer. It's all about getting the call right.
Yeah.
Even if it takes a few minutes.
Sure.
I mean, these games can come down to one call. Got to make sure it's accurate.
It's amazing how many rule changes came about because of specific players or even specific incidents.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the coolest things.
Like we said, Mikan, Chamberlain, the lane widening.
Right.
Even in that Reddit thread, they talk about the Barkley rule for backing down in the post and all the stricter rules about flopping. It's like the players are constantly pushing the limits of the game.
Oh, they are. They're always finding new ways to play, new ways to get an edge. And the league has to adjust. Sometimes it's, we got to stop this.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's, this is amazing, let's encourage it. But it's always a conversation, a back and forth.
That Reddit discussion you shared, it's like a window into what fans are thinking, where they want the game to go next.
It really is. And it's fascinating to see what they care about. One thing that came up a lot was enforce the rules you already have.
Oh, yeah, like stricter calls on flopping, carrying the ball, illegal screens.
Exactly. They feel like if you don't call those things consistently, it messes with the fairness of the game.
Yeah.
And a lot of them want even more replay. Like, if you're going to stop the game, why not review everything? Make sure you get it 100% right.
I can see that. But then some people worry it'll slow the game down too much.
Yeah, that's the trade-off, right? Accuracy versus flow. That's why some people want time limits on replays.
And that charge block foul, that seems to be a real hot topic.
Oh, yeah. Lots of debate there. A lot of fans think it needs a serious overhaul.
They even had some wild ideas for new rules, like get rid of defensive 3 seconds, make illegal screens a turnover, even shorten the playoff series.
Right. Big changes. Getting rid of defensive 3 seconds, that could really shake things up.
Yeah.
More open shots near the basket, who knows what that would lead to, and illegal screens as turnovers.
Wow.
That would force players to be a lot more careful.
Yeah.
And shorter playoff series, well, some people think that would make things more intense, more competitive.
Maybe avoid those sweeps and stuff.
Maybe avoid those sweeps.
Yeah.
Get rid of those boring series.
Some fans even talked about changing how overtime works, like using the Elam ending or coming up with new ways to score, 4-point shots, 5-point shots, even taking away points for missed free throws.
Oh, yeah. They got creative.
And don't forget the never-ending debate about the three-point line.
Get rid of it, keep it, change the distance, let teams choose.
Wow.
It just shows how passionate people are about the game.
It's wild how much impact that one line has had.
I mean, the Elam ending, that's all about stopping those intentional fouls at the end of overtime.
Right. Make it more exciting to watch.
Make it more exciting, more about skill. And those new scoring systems, well, some people think it would add another level of strategy.
Yeah.
Make teams think differently about what shots they take. And the three-pointer, that's the big one, right? It's completely changed basketball. But is it for the better? Is it too much? It's a debate that's not going away anytime soon.
Some people in the discussion even said they think the game is becoming too much about entertainment and not enough about the sport itself. Do you think some of those more radical rule changes would make that problem worse?
That's a good point. I mean, some of those ideas, those big changes to scoring or how the game is played, yeah, you could definitely see that as prioritizing entertainment over the purity of the sport.
Yeah.
But even stricter rules, those could be seen as trying to preserve the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
It really depends on how you view basketball, what you value most.
And it's interesting how some fans are looking at the WNBA for ideas.
Oh, yeah, like that reset timeout or being able to call a foul on the defense during out-of-bounds reviews.
It shows that rule changes aren't just happening in one league,
Totally. The WNBA, they've been innovative with their rules.
Yeah.
And some of those ideas could work in the NBA too, maybe even solve some problems they're having.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. So many rule changes over the years. It's like basketball's always evolving.
It is. And there's a pattern, right? Make the game better for the fans.
Yeah.
Counter those super dominant players and styles.
Makes sense.
Stop teams from stalling or fouling too much.
Keep players safe.
Keep players safe, that's a big one. The league is always trying to adjust, keep up with the times.
Stay ahead of the curve.
Stay ahead of the curve, keep it fresh. And those fan discussions, that shows it's still happening.
So for those of you listening, think about all these rule changes. Which one had the biggest impact on how you experience the game?
Which one changed basketball for you?
And what about those future changes? Which ones excite you? Which ones scare you?
Right. This is the big question, right? Is all this change good for basketball?
Yeah, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, it keeps things exciting. It keeps up with the times. But are we losing something? What's basketball going to look like 50 years from now? That's something to think about.
It really is. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.